Title: Beneath the Lavender Sky. Chapter 1: A Serendipitous Encounter. In the heart of Provence, where the rolling hills stretch like an endless green sea and the air is perfumed with the sweet scent of lavender, lived a young woman named Elodie. She had always been captivated by the simple beauty of her surroundings, but beneath her calm exterior, she longed for something more. A connection, a love story that would sweep her off her feet, like the stories her grandmother used to tell. Elodie worked in a small, cozy bakery nestled in the village square. Every morning, she would rise before the sun, baking warm croissants and pain au chocolat. Her hands would move rhythmically, kneading dough, shaping pastries as the dawn light trickled through the windows. The bakery, with its quaint charm, was a hub for the village. It was here that people came not just for fresh bread, but for conversation, warmth, and familiarity. One morning, as Elodie was arranging the fresh loaves in the display case, the bell above the bakery door chimed. She glanced up and saw a man walk in, someone she had never seen before. He was tall, with dark, slightly unruly hair that brushed his brow, and a pair of deep green eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories. He had a rugged yet gentle air about him, his clothes simple but worn with an understated elegance. Elodie's heart skipped a beat as their eyes met. For a moment, the world outside the bakery faded. The chatter of the customers, the clinking of coffee cups, all of it dissolved into a quiet hum. It was just the two of them, standing across the counter in the soft light of the early morning. "Good morning," the man said, his voice warm and rich like the smell of freshly brewed coffee. "I'm new to the village, and I've heard this is the best place for a croissant." Elodie smiled, her cheeks flushing slightly. "You've heard right," she replied, reaching for one of the warm golden pastries. "Here, try this. On the house." He took the croissant with a grateful nod, but instead of walking away, he stayed at the counter, watching her with a curious gaze. "I'm Mathieu," he introduced himself. "I just moved here from Paris. Needed a change of pace." "Elodie," she replied softly. "Paris is a far cry from our little village. What brings you here?" Mathieu hesitated for a moment, as if weighing how much to reveal. "I'm a writer," he said finally. "I was looking for a quiet place to finish my novel, and Provence seemed perfect." A writer. Elodie's heart fluttered. She had always had a soft spot for stories, for words that could paint worlds as vivid as the lavender fields just outside the village. Over the next few weeks, Mathieu became a regular at the bakery. Each morning, he would come in for a croissant and a cup of coffee. And each time, he would linger a little longer, talking to Elodie about his writing, his life in Paris, and the joys of village life. Their conversation started to feel like the highlight of Elodie's day, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, a bond began to form between them. Chapter 2: The Lavender Fields. One warm afternoon, as summer draped the village in golden light, Mathieu invited Elodie to take a walk through the lavender fields. It was an invitation she couldn't refuse. They walked side by side, the tall stalks of lavender swaying gently in the breeze, the horizon painted with hues of purple and blue. Mathieu spoke of his novel, of the characters he was bringing to life, while Elodie listened, captivated not just by his words but by the way he spoke them, with passion and care. As the sun began to dip towards the horizon, casting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Mathieu turned to Elodie. "You've inspired me," he said, his voice quiet, sincere. "Being here, in this village, meeting you, it's brought something back to my writing I thought I had lost." Elodie felt her heart swell at his words, but she was unsure of how to respond. She wasn't used to being someone's muse, wasn't sure she was worthy of such a title. But there was something about the way Mathieu looked at her, like she was more than just a baker in a small village, like she was the missing piece of his story. They sat together in the lavender fields, the air heavy with the scent of flowers, the world bathed in twilight. And for the first time, Elodie felt that her life might be on the verge of something extraordinary. Chapter 3: A Love in Bloom. Days turned into weeks, and their friendship deepened. Elodie and Mathieu spent their mornings in the bakery, their afternoons wandering the village, or sitting under the old oak tree by the river, talking about everything and nothing. They shared laughter, dreams, and unspoken moments of connection. One evening, as the stars twinkled above and the village quieted down, Mathieu walked Elodie back to her cottage. They stood at her doorstep, the night air cool and crisp. "Elodie," Mathieu said softly, taking her hand in his, "I've been waiting for the right moment to say this, but I don't think there will ever be a perfect time. So, here it is. I'm falling in love with you. Every moment we've spent together has made me realize how much you mean to me. You're the reason I've been able to write again, the reason I feel alive in a way I haven't in years." Elodie's breath caught in her throat. She looked into his eyes, saw the vulnerability there, the sincerity, and felt a rush of emotions she could no longer deny. She had been falling for him too, slowly, like petals drifting on the wind. "I feel the same," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I've been falling for you too." Mathieu smiled, a slow, radiant smile that lit up his entire face. He leaned in, and as their lips met for the first time, it felt as if the world had paused, as if everything had led to this moment, beneath the lavender sky. And so, their love story began, as natural and beautiful as the fields that surrounded them. A love that bloomed quietly but fiercely in the heart of Provence. Epilogue: the story continues. Years later, Elodie would look back on that summer as the moment her life changed forever. She and Mathieu continued to build their life together, their love growing stronger with each passing day. He finished his novel, dedicating it to her, his muse, his heart. And every morning, as the sun rose over the lavender fields, they would walk hand in hand, grateful for the serendipity that had brought them together. In the end, their love wasn't just a chapter in a story. It was the story itself, unfolding with each new day beneath the lavender sky.